At Smart Trucking, we're all about helping you, the truck driver. This video is dedicated to answering your questions. So in YouTube community, we posted the question, hey Dave, what do you think of, and then you fill in the blank, you ask the question. Then we grabbed as many requests as we could to make this video. We thought this was a great way to answer some questions for you, and you could get my thoughts and views on some of these things. Now, I haven't read these questions beforehand, so I'm just going into this cold. So I'm only given 20 seconds to answer each question, so I've got to be fast. Let's roll.
First question. Hey Dave, what is your opinion about Scania, and should they come back to the US?
I'd love to see Scania come to the US. I don't believe they were ever here really before. The occasional guy would ship one over. I'd love to try them out. I think they're really nice looking trucks.
Hey Dave, many times I watch commercial drivers not following the next vehicle safely. Many of us out here think that it won't harm us if we follow too closely to the vehicle in front of us.
That's crazy. That's just dead wrong. You should leave as much room in front of the truck as you possibly can. The standard rule is 1 truck length for every 10 miles an hour. I leave more. I leave as much as I possibly can, especially if the weather turns bad. You've got to be able to stop that thing safely.
Hey Dave, what do you think of nosing into parking spots?
I always nose into my spots, and I'll tell you why. Because if some guy is going to back into me, I want him to back into the trailer rather than the truck. If he hits the trailer, I can probably still go and deliver the next day. If he hits the truck, he takes out the rad, he takes out the headlights, and you're stuck in the truck stop and you can't move and you can't deliver.
Hey Dave, what do you think of an owner-operator wanting to pursue reefer work?
I really enjoyed reefer work, quite loved it. You've got to keep a head on your shoulders. You've got to remember to check the trailer constantly. But reefer work is good, clean work. A lot of long distance stuff in reefer work, and I really enjoyed it. I'd recommend it.
Hey Dave, what do you think of this? If you weren't a truck driver, what would you do?
Well, I'd like to go back to school and be a lawyer. I always thought that'd be a pretty good profession to be in. So I think that's what I would have done.
Hey Dave, which truck stop smells the worst?
I'd have to say, if I had to pick one, I'd have to say that the Flying J truck stops smell the worst. I can't tell you why that is. Maybe it's just their lack of cleanliness, but Flying J, definitely the smelliest.
Hey Dave, what do you think about self-driving trucks?
I don't think we'll see self-driving trucks in any practical application in our lifetime. They've got so far to go with those things. I can see the purpose for short-haul delivery stuff in the future, but in the long run, they can't even operate in bad weather yet, so I don't see much of a future for them anytime soon.
Hey Dave, what about qualified drivers to haul fuel? We're losing them faster here in Tennessee than we can hire them. Heck, we can't even get people to apply.
Hauling fuel is hauling hazmat, so that's a little more dangerous than hauling dry freight, so that should pay better than hauling dry freight. As soon as the fuel haulers realize they've got to pay their drivers more, you'll have no trouble attracting drivers. But before then, nobody's going to want a job that pays like that.
Hey Dave, what do you think about engine preventative maintenance, like oil changes and so on?
I'm all for preventative maintenance. I used to change the oil in my truck every 12,000 miles, which the manufacturer considered early. They were going for 20,000 miles, but never hurt me. And anytime they look at the vehicle records, if you have an engine issue, they certainly can't say, well, you weren't taking care of the equipment, so you're covered.
Hey Dave, what do you think of a company that fuels your truck while you're shut down?
You know, I don't know what to think about that. I guess it's supposed to be a time saver, but what's it saving? 15 minutes? And if it was me, I'd prefer to know that I was the one that put fuel in the truck in the first place. So I guess it's a novelty idea, but I can't see it.
Hey Dave, how many years do you think a driver should be a company driver before attempting to be an owner-operator?
I would recommend at least 7 years as a company driver first. I think you've got to be comfortable with the trucks before you go buying your own stuff. And that way you're beating up on the company equipment rather than your own. So no, at least 7 years.
Hey Dave, could you cover having your own authority as an owner-operator tanker driver?
Well, certainly you could get the authority, but my guess would be that the insurance costs of being your own tanker company would be just prohibitive. So I imagine that's where you'd get hung up on that.
Hey Dave, what do you think of Canada, or parts of Canada, becoming the 51st state?
I'd be all for that. It would make things so much easier. The US is our biggest trading partner. I'd be all for that. No more customs. That wouldn't break my heart at all.
Hey Dave, what's your opinion on super singles?
I am not a fan of super singles, and I'll tell you why. Because when you blow the tire, it drops right away and the rim hits the ground and you start chewing up the rim. So now you're out the price of a tire and a rim, and you cannot limp it to the truck stop. You got to get the service call. So the costs of having those tires are prohibitive.
Hey Dave, what are your thoughts on flatbed work?
Flatbed work is tough work. It can be dirty work. Often you're doing it outside. I think it should pay well to do that. And you've got to be so careful. I've known all sorts of guys that have slid off the decks or slipped and fallen off their flatbeds. It should pay accordingly. It's a dangerous job.
Hey Dave, what do you think of Uber getting their hands in the trucking business?
Well, Uber doesn't seem to be in it too seriously. In fact, I'd read that they backed out lately, but maybe they're coming back in again. But, I really don't think we need anyone else in the marketplace at this stage of the game.
Hey Dave, what do you think of fuel island campers?
I think they should be shot and towed away. These guys are the biggest morons in the industry. And what's scary is you see it so bloody often. I just can't understand the mentality of not fueling and going out to the parking lot.
Hey Dave, what do you think of wingman fusion mitigation systems in today's trucks?
What in God's green earth is wingman mitigation fusion? Never heard of that before. I have no clue what that is. Trust them to come up with a stupid name like that.
Hey Dave, what do you think about where trucking will be going in the next few years and how this global pandemic has changed our trucking industry?
It most certainly has changed our trucking industry, but I don't think it's going to effectively slow down the economy, especially in the US. The economy is just booming, and we're seeing more and more stuff come in from overseas. The economy's rolling. Trucking is going to pick up in the next few years, and we've all seen how important it's been through this pandemic to have trucking.
Whoa! Hey Dave, I'm derating in a Pete 367. 485 Cummins, derates in the morning, recovers. Fine for the rest of the day, repeat. Think this is a computer issue?
These emissions engines have been having trouble with cold DEF fluid, to the point that the DEF fluid almost has to be room temperature for the truck to run properly. So my suggestion is warm up the truck and just let it idle and warm up for at least 20-30 minutes every day before you take off with it. I bet you that'll solve your problem.
Hey Dave, what do you think of parking your truck when the rounder is going to make you lose money?
I would absolutely park my truck if I wasn't going to make any money with it. And this concept of the carrier keeping their customers and their friends happy and it costing you money is insane. You're there to make money. You're there and you're.
Hey Dave, what are your thoughts on European trucks?
Not really my style of truck. Like, I'd like to try the Scania out, but I'm not sure I'd be comfortable with one over the long haul. The bunks are so small. It's too bad their length laws keep them to that. But that's the only problem I have with the European trucks, is how short they are. Speaking of answering comments, I was commenting or answering a comment from Thomas Sheridan the other day about bedbug hauling, and it got me thinking about one of my bedbug stories. I did that briefly one summer when I was in college. Now, bedbug hauling is working for moving van companies, and I did that for a summer with an old boy that was pretty good at it. He'd been at it for years, and he said, here's a trick to remember when you're doing this for a living. He says, when you get to the guy's house that's moving, you walk in and say, hey sir, can we back up over your lawn and back right to the front door? It'll save you money because we're that much closer. It'll be quicker for you. and we'll get the trailer loaded and get out of here, and it'll save you a lot of cash. And of course, the customer always agrees to that because he doesn't want to pay any more than he has to. So then he says, the old truck driver says, when you get to the new house, you don't even ask. You just back up over the lawn and back right to the front door so you can run the board from the front door into the trailer. Half the time, he says, the customer will come running out and go, oh, my new lawn, my new lawn. But then you say, well, you know, we checked with you. You told us we could back over the lawn, but well, we better get the weight off the trailer now so it doesn't leave really deep grooves in the lawn. And so then we just get to unload the trailer where it sat, right on the guy's front lawn. I used to enjoy doing that. I thought that was a funny trick, well worth remembering. Stay safe, keep the rubber side down, and I'll see you on the back haul.